Ladies and gentlemen, we will call this our first work session of 2020 to order. Happy New Year to everyone. Glad to see everyone, and we'll get started. We've got a fairly short agenda, I think, but we first have a presentation by Mr. Kemp, our Utilities Director. He's going to give us a kind of an overview of his planned expansion and co-location for utility services as they move us into this next decade. So Terry, I'm just gonna let you go with it.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. It's a good opportunity, and facility is one of the topics I definitely want to bring up today, but I think what we have been focused on for the last several years is infrastructure, reinvesting in capital to make sure that we've got a reliable system with electric, water, and sewer. And if I look at the next 5 years, I think that's where most of the focus is going to be. So what I've got today, and you've got it in front of you, is a kind of some budget numbers, just a lot of information. We kind of keep track of this on an annual basis, looking forward to kind of build our budget financial plan to see where we're headed. If I look at the electric side, there's kind of 3 areas that we're really focused on this year. Part of them are going to be the substation, the Southwest substation, and improving our distribution system considerably. So that's where most of the numbers are for this year and next year. Kind of where most of the capital expenditure will probably be going. If you get on into probably the third section, going forward, we'll be looking at special projects, but there's also a large piece of equipment that we'll need to address and purchase to be able to handle our poles. It's our largest line truck. That's on our budget to be dealt with this year. And then the other one deals with facilities. Facilities is becoming an issue from our department standpoint. And on the electric side, I would like to expand the electric operation center to allow for all of our operations, water, sewer, and electric, are in one location. Just kind of give you an idea, this is the existing water division building. That's what we're using. It was set up.
Does that say 1973?
1973 is when it was built. And it's served the city well. And it started out as a water, I guess it says a water treatment plant. That's still one of our filters. We've got a large lead tank and well located on that site. But as we continue to grow, the need for operational space, inventory and also equipment storage, it's just a point where we need to do something different. We're really trying to promote a team environment from utilities, communications across all utility lines. And so what I would like to do is propose a new combined operations center. We did some preliminary studies to figure out how we can make all of this fit for the long term. And the space, if we had to make investments in facilities, this seems to be the best approach going forward. Money spent here would serve us for a long, long time. The existing buildings are just in the point. It'd be hard to spend a lot of money on those at that time. If you look at the top section, you'll kind of recognize most of that is the existing electric operations center. But the proposal would be is that we would reconfigure some of the offices in that building to here again promote more of a team environment between all utilities in that. Then you've got a meeting, training, war room kind of on the backside in case of an emergency. We don't have a place to bring crews in and stuff on that order. Then following that, we have a place for our warehouse, inventory, supplies, which we're beginning more and more of that type information, that material, and it needs to be controlled with the better thinking. And then there's a bay inside to protect our trucks, mini excavators, and things like that. This is kind of programmed based under where we think we would be now, and then a little adjustment going forward. It will all fit on the site, and we could build it on the electric side through that budget. That's what I was talking about earlier.
So let's back up to where we are now, the building that we're currently in, and what exactly is located there? We've got a water tower there. We've got a
elevated tank.
Right.
We've got a well, and then we've got a filtering system back on to the side to the right here. If you go in, you'll see an old room that's in there. It's a part of our filtering system on our water.
and all that would stay in place?
That would stay in place.
Okay.
How many people there? I didn't mean to butt in. I'm sorry.
No, that's
We've
great.
probably got about, all of our crews, we probably have about 25 people.
Okay, so they would no longer be functioning there, they would function out of a co-located space with, so utilities is now truly utilities in the consideration of a location, okay?
All of the people that report here on a daily basis, if you go by there, you'll see trucks almost parked in the street.
Right,
Finding
right.
places to do that. All of that location, all those personnel would be moved to the new facility.
Okay, and what would be left there is gonna be the functioning part, but the building itself, is, what, 1973, so it is, you would still need to have some areas there that hold things?
It is.
For
back
you
inside,
guys?
We would want to, we'd have to do some configuration just for our filtering system so that our water operators would have access to it to do sampling. You know, that's part of
Okay.
all our wells, we would have a routine going by there. They just wouldn't be stationed there.
Okay, and the building itself is still, the roof is still okay, is it still serviceable?
It's in fair shape.
Okay.
It needs a roof and you'll notice around the top, all the guttering is getting in bad shape. It's
Okay.
a metal building that's beginning to show corrosion just because of the chemicals that we use inside.
Okay, all right.
But, you know, it is a slab floor. It
Right.
can be used and repurposed for something else.
Okay, well, I think
Fencing on
I've heard
the
somebody has
outside.
dibs on it. Where's Edward? There's Edward.
And what we
So-
would like to do is work with, you know, if we clean this up and get it in a shape that might be reused by someone else.
Okay.
We've just got to the point, this is not the right size for us and our location. And back to the team environment, by all utilities, we really like to have them all at one location to kind of help that is.
Okay,
The fencing all the way around, and if you're looking at the very back, to your left on this particular slide is kind of where we keep our inventory, but it's just basically a large room. And parts are.
Chemicals and things are water parts or whatever.
Water parts, sleeves, bushings.
So all of that would
all
move to the
stuff.
new location?
We would redo all of
Okay.
that and put it in more of a manageable inventory system, because right now, sometimes they're making do, they're working really hard, but it's just a big open area with boxes, and it's trying to work out of that. It's not very good for controlling. And now, as we're getting more into infrastructure improvements, we're seeing a lot more materials coming through. And so managing that, having it in place is.
so we would then eventually clean up that yard and make that look much more, manageable.
That's right. We have to address the fence.
Yeah.
The fence is in real bad shape for security standpoint. The back area, we have, some facilities that we can park part of our equipment in. It was not really built for what we're pulling. You know, right now, the new facilities, we'd like to do a pull through, so we have a truck attached to a trailer with a mini excavator. That's what a crew really looks like, so they can go pull through. Right now, it's limited in being able to get some of our equipment out of the weather, and so that has a long-term effect too. Some of that needs to be repaired or basically torn down and start over. But here again, you've got some concrete you can build back up for maybe another department if you want to use it.
Okay. Do we have any questions? I'm sorry, go ahead, Hank.
All of our chemicals are injected into our waters at the well site. How do we do that? Is that computerized? How is that done? Our fluoride, chlorine, things like that. Where's that?
We store a lot at each individual well site. Sometimes we'll actually drop a site there. Our warehouse manager is located at this spot. So when we do our purchasing, depending on the volume, they may be dropped here and transported to a well site, depending on the type. But each well site has its own set of chemicals.
But are we controlling how that stuff is put into our system from a central location through a computer system? Or do we do it, do we just have automatic feeders at each site under each, how does that work?
We do automatic feeders, and we have water operators that visit each site every day. So they'll monitor that, and we also have a SCADA system in place on all of our wells. Talk about the operation, we put that in about a year ago. That gives them information.
Okay.
And then we do monthly sampling throughout the city here again, just to verify that.
We got 6 elevated tanks. How many elevated tanks do we have?
Five.
We will have 6 when the North Star Industrial.
We have 7 wells and 5 elevated tanks right now. And, your point, but no, we monitor it pretty well, regular around the day. We're fortunate in our water supply, we don't have to put a lot of chemicals, chlorine, fluoride, things like that. We
Terry, in the interim, are we going to merge them into the existing building and make room, or you build the buildings first and then, so what kind of timeline are you thinking on all that?
Well, I would like, you know, and on the agenda is for us to move forward, to go and get a big package to go out on the next agenda. I'd like to be able to start construction groundwork in the spring, late spring, if we put it out on bids, and then maybe be in operation, have it full operation within a year. These are metal construction, this is more of a, it's consistent with what we have there now, so it makes it look about the same. And I think we can build it in a year.
Yeah,
Any
what
other-
are your preliminary costs?
Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there are any other questions. Senator
I
Jackson?
got one. How
Yes,
many,
sir.
how many square feet you, of this other existing building you going to add to the existing building?
Right now, we're talking about if you added everything back to the north, including that, we're talking about 10,000 square feet.
And that will accommodate you for
Many years.
how many years?
We think.
Project
we think-
10, 20?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
We think
good.
we're good on that.
Okay.
And then there's some capabilities even in that center section that you could convert into offices. I think one of the bigger things that when we went through, all the spaces that we currently have over there, we can repurpose those and maybe change it more to a team environment and maybe have more people in there. Communication would be increased in that. If you walk through, there's a lot of just stacked offices in there. So I think we've got some opportunity to kind of reconfigure that as well.
So all utility department, operations, utility, water, sewer, electric, all be working
All
electronic.
would be there too, and all our equipment would be there, the laydowns would be around, we still have the pole yard off-site, that, will be there, and the wastewater plant, I'll mention that too. That will be another operation down Sand Road, stays where it is, so those personnel have to operate on site, but all of our operations, other than that, this will be their main location site.
Do you have any preliminary cost on that? Capital
Right
cost?
now, it looks like, it's about a little over $1 million for the building.
It's on the last page there.
I can get you some more details. Bill Whittle is one who's been working there. I don't know if y'all know Bill or not.
Bill
He's done
Columbus.
a lot of this type work. Alderman, I think if you look at buildings, it's about that, it's probably $200,000 we're gonna have to do on site work, testing and stuff like that. So I put as a key hold on the budget, $1.6 million for this whole expansion. And that can take care of that, moving some laydown yards and some cleanup on that.
Does that include the fencing? Does that include the fencing as well?
And survey and make sure that we're
On city property?
What kind of fencing are you anticipate using out there?
You know, I don't know. Part of it is just gonna be controlled out here on the first, as far as going all the way around the building, we have not planned to do that at this point. But, there will be some controlled access. We did put some cameras and monitors that we're starting, that can be expanded to kind of help security and stuff. There's a high berm that comes back up to the, kind of the north that prevents people access, and a lot of material that they come in is too heavy to carry back over. That's not.
Okay, Alderman Vaughn?
Will this call for a tax increase?
No, sir. No, this is, I was gonna say, all
They don't
this is
tax,
in our
they rate.
electric budget, all of this is in our.
They don't tax.
There's another option on the water side. This is all in the electric budget. I showed you the capital project.
Electric, water,
We're planning right now to go forward with issuing the bonds. It's primarily gonna be dealing with the substation, which is a big play and a tremendous asset to the city. Once that's in place, over 2 years. That'll be $8.5 million that'll come forward for y'all's consideration. They're still gonna leave, that's less than the 12 that we're actually by authorization. We still have a gap up there. But to your point, Alderman, I'm getting to there, is that we plan to do that. And looking at our financials, based on, unless major things change on our customer base or some major thing, I don't see coming forward on a rate increase on the electric side for the next 3 to 5 years.
So we got capacity built in to service the debt on revenue
That's what
bonds
I'm trying
for
to get.
this stuff.
And that's what we've been planning on, working real hard to, and we've been saving money for the
Retire
last
some
8
debt.
or 10 years to kind of get to the point on the substation. Now we're kind of replenishing that. And then our rates are structured currently, which is important to kind of support long-term. So I think right now we feel pretty confident that we can maintain, and I think the key is continue to invest in capital. Because, you know, we got the substation, that'll be behind us, but we still have a lot of structure we have on the electric side, we can support what our plans, our needs are without having a rate increase.
Jacob, I'm sorry, Jason.
That's
I
okay.
told you I've
Jacob
been-
could probably answer this question.
I'm sorry.
Question, Terry, I think this is, I look forward to looking at more of the detail, but I appreciate the plan moving forward and how you're looking at capital. Speaking of polls, and this may be, I know, you all are the conduit, for this, but in a lot of places still where we have two poles side by side, of which AT&T has not, I think it's their, purview to address that. Do we have a timeline for when we think that we might be able to put a little bit more pressure on them to help us in that regard?
That's a good question. And what we talk about almost every week, because as we make changes, you know, we need to clean them up and move out. My contract, and we have contracts with all of our pole attachments, there's typically about a 6 or 9 month window in there where they make that transfer. I will say, and the mayor's helped a lot on this, and we continue to push locally to do it faster, or stay close to that 6 months, because in some cases around town, we all know that it's been longer than that.
Significantly.
And, so it's real sensitive on our part, and we're pushing, and that's what you need to do, is keep pushing us, because then that gives us a little more leverage to keep on them as well. I will say in the last 6 months, they have, they brought in crews, construction crews, just to kind of clean up sections, and, here again, I think it's a reflection that we're putting a lot of new investment back in, and they've lost some of their construction crews, and I say they, some of the telecommunication group, they're moved somewhere else, but now we're saying, bring them back in, we're through with the line, and it's time to clean that up. So,
I got one more. You talked a little bit, and I think from the new substation and looking at changing distribution, it seems like we're improving the resiliency overall of our system. As we're moving forward, are we identifying opportunities for, I know we have a grant that we're looking to potentially reroute or put some utilities underground. It looks like most new significant developments in town are opting to put some of their utilities underground. Are we looking at locations, whether that's gonna be in the downtown or other primary corridors, or older neighborhood, or whatever it is, pole replacements, or is that part of the long-term capital plan to improve resiliency long-term, or are we just looking at replacing new poles where there's an existing pole?
I think the latter's probably where it is. A lot of neighborhoods are kind of fixed, you know, we have gone back and upgraded, put new poles in, put true wire in, which is a much more reliable conductor than what we've had in the past. We have not gone in and tried to just kind of underground neighborhoods. That's just additional cost, and we did talk in some cases, but it comes back to sometimes that impacts the customers themselves. They would have to rewire their panels and then come in from the location underground, so.
We'll talk about it next time we have a big ice storm.
But here again,
Don't say that.
that's right, that's really when it comes forward. But here again, the importance of why we maintain the trimming and our cutting is really important. But underground typically would say is all new construction, as much as we can get in that area. We're trying to, I think we've got a couple more neighborhoods we've targeted that have, just kind of at the point they need to be upgraded, in capacity. That's part of that overall distribution, but right now, that's plan B is overhead. But we can look at it if we can just.
Well, and I would say just if there's, the part, yeah, where the opportunities are, especially in some of the major corridors or where we're expecting long-term, high-density growth, it seems that would be an area where we at least need to start thinking about what a plan might look like as we're doing that, and what that might entail.
The bill grant, you kind of looked at 182, I didn't put it on this, but we know that that's gonna be some things, but it's gonna require a bunch of other utility distribution rework to make it happen, so I think you've got a little bit in that, but hopefully we can maximize that. And we'd like to do that, it's just a matter of cost
Sure.
sometimes, and if you find an area that doesn't have concrete, or it doesn't have a lot of things, or
Mayor Kemp, we own poles in town, and AT&T owns poles in town, correct?
That's correct.
What percentage, I mean, and
We probably own about 75 to 80%.
I guess they had the original, because the telephone system, I don't know, 100 years ago, whatever, but do we, when a pole needs replacing, do they replace their pole, we replace our pole kind of thing? How's it?
They make their decision on their pole.
But when it's replaced, we don't necessarily, I mean,
We would move over. It doesn't happen quite that very often. Most of the poles, we'll have a few that we do street lights on or something to that effect. But we keep a track of that and we monitor that. We do a survey every 3 years.
and they charge us to use their pole, to string our wires and their poles, but then the city charges them a tax on that, so we get their money back on that, right? So
It's kind of one of these, they charge us for our attachment, we charge them for their attachment.
Exactly.
And it's almost all under the same type of an agreement. And then every year, we do have a kind of a budgeting standpoint where we transfer the dollars and then we do an inspection, jointly inspection, every 3 to 4 years.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right,
I
thank you.
wanted to just quickly talk about, so I apologize, I got off on the water, but this, I did want to mention too, just if I get just a minute.
You do.
Because this, not to say the electric's open, but we have the same deal for the water and the sewer, and this kind of gives you a long-term capital budget for that. You'll notice this one expanded out further, and I think from the direction of the board where we want to go, we've already identified quite a few projects that need to be completed in the next 5 years. And I'll say too, as you look down through that, some of these can be moved around based on their availability of funds and needs and everything else. I would just kind of highlight, if you look at Green Oaks, that's where we're working now, Rolling Hills, things that we have talked about. Harlan Street, Alderman, I know you've been on that, that's a street, we've got one up on North Montgomery. We're trying to capture everything that we see needs to be addressed and try to get a placeholder so we can plan for it. One thing going forward, and I think our focus still, if y'all concur, is we're gonna focus on infrastructure, trying to replace the old and the aged, and then make sure that it's good in the future. A lot of work to do. Coming up into the future, there's going to probably be a need for another well within the next 5 years, and so we've got that as kind of a plan down the bottom. That'll be a fairly lengthy process, and also an expensive one. If you see new production well, it's a good bottom. We've got Babylon Road, I know that's been discussed a lot, CDBG, that's on the agenda. It creates some opportunities for us to maybe deal with Babylon Road. So here gives you a big view of what we would like to do. And then even after 2000 and after 25, we've already captured projects there. And I think the message there in this city, it's not going to end in a couple of years. It's going to be a long-term commitment. If we looked at numbers and revenues, just as a point, kind of like on the electric side, our rates are pretty much where they need to be, I think, based on where our growth is. Y'all approved a rate increase about 2 years ago. We implemented it, and it's been about a year and a half. Based on the revenue and projections and growth potential, there seems to be a gap. And so I just mentioned that, continue down this path, there's probably going to be an opportunity time in the spring to relook at rates.
You're gonna bring Dr. Barrett back?
And he's involved with us right now to evaluate what he proposed, the performance that has been in place. And every year we're getting much better data and performance on our water system. And so, but I think we probably need to look at that in the April timeframe, maybe some action in the late summer or something like that. Kind of position us so that we can continue down this path for the years ahead.
Okay, all right. Anyone else?
I
Anything else?
just have one question,
Sure.
Terry. It looks like for this year's, where a lot of the wastewater treatment plant are coming on, what's the time frame for that project to happen?
Yeah, that's really where the big ticket is this year. It did, and the disc rotors are coming in. The disc rotor should be in sometime in August, and the solids project, we hope to be in sometime in like we had hoped it would be in the summer. The construction is probably slid to kind of fall right now. So, but right now,
appreciate it. I appreciate that you're looking forward like you are. I really think that's one of the things that this board has been really good about doing and encouraging department heads to do is move us into the next decades and plan ahead. And so I'm really pleased to see that you're continuing to do that. So, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we can move into our agenda. We have a couple of public hearings. Well, we've got a set of minutes. Chris, have you looked at those minutes and thumbs up on those?
Yes, ma'am.
Any reason for those not to go on consent?
No, ma'am.
All right. That was actually a board question, but that's all right.
I was on a roll, I just.
You were? Keep on going. All right, that's fine. And then we have two public hearings. Both will be conditional uses. I think there's a fairly self-explanatory once we get into the paperwork associated with those. Is that correct, Dr. Kim? Okay, all right.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Ever on one on Lafayette Street, I'm already getting some calls on there because of all the flooding that on Lafayette Street. I'm already getting some calls and I had some visits with that one, so that's one we're going to pay close attention to.
Yes, sir.
Because it's already flooded, that street already flooded bad.
Yes, sir. And we called with the applicant in the very preliminary review, almost like a pre-application review, that they understood that that stormwater basin was really highly under scrutiny, and that we would make sure that they met the new stormwater ordinance on that, which would go up to the 100-year storm event.
Okay.
Who's that?
South Lafayette Street?
South Lafayette, which is in
Okay.
the same basin that goes
Well,
under
no,
South
I knew
Lafayette.
that, but
Any
I,
construction will be for 100 a year.
yeah. the
Yeah,
new construction.
anything, but we also just said that, you know, this area in particular in town is under the microscope too, because we've had so much problem.
Thank you. We'll talk about it. See y'all.
All right,
Y'all
bye-bye.
have a good one.
Thank you. All right, the next item on here is consideration of the letter of engagement, and I know that that will not go on consent, but that is, just as an explanation, that is to add Mr. Demery Grubbs at the request of Slaughter and Associates as the financial advisor to go forward for the trial portion of the annexation process.
Emery working again?
He is.
I didn't know.
He is, so, and so that's what that's about. But, and then Ms. Moreland was the only applicant, so unless there's an issues with that, I think that probably could go on consent for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Well, don't see any head nodding, but I don't hear anybody saying anything either, so I'm just gonna move forward. Then authorization to advertise for the Architectural Review Committee. Now that we have our Unified Development Code, I'm pretty excited. I think this is gonna be great, so consent for that one, I hope. Then we have authorization to, for the Golden Triangle Planning and Development to prepare and submit a CDBG for, this will be for the Babylon Road area for sewer service. So hopefully that will move us forward and we'll get closer to having folks all on sewer service within the city. Both 3 and 4 are much the same thing. I see Phyllis here. Phyllis, do you have anything you want to share with us as it relates to that?
Nothing other than the workshop for the CDBG application has not been set yet. They anticipate that it will be on January the 23rd, and it's at that time we'll find out when the actual deadline will be.
Okay.
We anticipate that it will be sometime during the month of May, and I know you're all thinking, oh, January, May, we've got a lot of time. Well, no, you don't, because those people of the area have to be surveyed.
Yes.
So there's a lot of preliminary behind-the-scenes work that goes into the application that we need to get started on. So what we're trying to do is be a little more proactive and see if we can't get some wheels on the ground and start running with it, so.
Okay, and you'll make sure we do what we're supposed to do.
I's dotted and T's crossed.
Okay, all right, thank you, ma'am,
Thank
sounds
you.
good. Any issue with 3 and 4 being on consent? Okay, and then we have, this is a change, it went from me, and I'm delighted to pass it off to somebody else, but it's sort of a checking the box as it relates to the EMS administrator person, so I think this is code derivative, that's the reason for the quote there, or for the code section to be outlined there, but they're taking it and having Mr. Parker of Pafford EMS as the EMS coordinator, so, or administrator, excuse me, so. All right, airport, we have Clearwater Consultants, work authorization for engineering services for an MDOT project. Any issues with that one going on consent? Okay. And then all these special event requests, we have, they're being, the partnership is being very proactive, so we have all kinds of special events that are be coming up that we can put on the calendar, and I realize they will not go on the consent agendas, but this is for Unwind Downtown, for the Taco Hop, which last year was very successful, for the Crawfish Boil, and the Bud and Burgers event, and then the annual MLK March, which this would be the first time that we have asked them to do that. I don't know that we are at a point yet that we have the insurance piece of that.
Still looking at that.
Still looking at it?
That's been provided. I need to look at that closely before Tuesday night.
Okay, well, again, it won't go on the consent agenda, but we'll be prepared. And then we have the asphalt truck. I'm so excited. Did you not get a agenda?
It's okay.
Okay, all right, sorry. We have the purchase of an asphalt truck for the street department in the amount of $197,600, and with an opportunity to obtain financing, so looking forward to that one. Sandra ought to be smiling about that.
I'm pretty happy.
This is a dump truck.
No.
No,
What
it's
is
an asphalt truck.
Pothole-
The chassis and
Pothole
yeah,
paper, oh, those things are nice.
they are. So
I guess it's in the 21st century.
it does. We're pretty excited, because our old one is like 20 years old.
Yeah, those things
so
are really
so
nice.
it's time.
We have had one of those before. We had one of those before?
Yeah, we've had one, but it's dead or dying, so. All right, so,
Want to know how to run this one, or is it going to be?
It's gonna be very similar to our old one, our current one, except that, it's gonna be a little easier to maintain. Some of the problems that we're having with our current machine, we kind of modified the new, rig to alleviate some of those. So we hope that it'll last us another 15 to 20 years.
more computerized, I would guess?
It's a newer truck, we have transmission problems with the other truck, and then we had some, different component of the trailer portion that, yeah, it'll be a new truck, and a new rig to go back.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go with consent on that one unless I hear otherwise. Also, and while we're at it, the bad news is that apparently our asphalt company is going to shut down for like 6 to 8 weeks for maintenance. So we are looking at cold mix, which clearly doesn't work nearly so well
And
for the
Mayor,
next
I
period.
note on that, the main plant is closed down for that time.
Huh.
There is a secondary plant up in Hamilton,
Okay,
that they're gonna try to get cranked
Are
up
they?
next week if the
Okay.
weather permits.
okay,
It'll
good
be a
news, because I was
longer
going,
Commute for us to go get it, but there is a
still worth,
source, yeah.
worth doing. Excellent. All right, well, good, because that was gonna be a serious bad news.
Edward, on this truck, what's our time frame from approval here to when we have one spec'd out and
I can
in
try
here?
to get a really up-to-date time on that, but from the early indicators is the truck and the cabin chassis is readily available, but the back part of it, the heater for the asphalt and all that is made in California, and so they'll have to get that made, shipped here, added on the truck, so we're probably looking at a minimum of 6 months.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay, all right. Next, we have claims docket, which we know also will not be on consent. We then have the fire department. They're looking to apply for a firefighters grant with a 15% city match. This is to be, improve our training facility up at Fire Station number 5. They're gonna take the tower up higher and improve our ability with some training opportunities. So, consent on that one, if everyone's good?
Lisa,
Consent?
do you know what the source of funds for the city match will be?
He is proposing using his machinery and equipment line item, and he does have enough there.
And then we have promotions and hirings, all of those associated with the fire department and the new, manning that new Station 5, or manning Station 5, fully manning Station 5.
10 years later.
Yeah, I know, but it's ready for us now, right, as we grow the west side of town.
The Rain Bureau is gonna reward us for that.
Looking forward to
The
it.
Rain Bureau's gonna reward us for that.
All right, we have a recreational trails grant. This is to apply for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks for a project with a approximate 50% match. A lot of that is in kind. So if that's something that, Mr. Logan, do you have anything you wish to speak about that real quickly?
Sure, I mean, this is something we brought forward last year, this was today, the northwest corner of McKee Park, Highway 12, through the county-owned property. Although we've still yet to
Where's that, is an extension of an existing walking trail we have now? Or we're gonna create a walking trail? Where will it come out on Highway, where will it bump into 12?
Well, so it'll
There's your
go-
map.
Here you go, it'll go, along the red, it'll go north through the county-owned, property, then make the hard left before the train track exit. There is an existing entrance type road there at the Flex Steel property. And then the blue is actually what we anticipate being the city side, the city connection, not directly part of the grant, but the city connection to Highway 12, which is Industrial Road.
And then connecting across to the new sidewalk on the north side of Highway 12.
So that's the Gary.
And that'll give us a real nice circuit that works through to Lynn Lane.
So Gary, I'm all for us getting this grant. The question I have is, that's just right now the red line, that's just a line drawn on there. And so what I didn't see in the grant is, or in the application, if we get this, we're talking about stormwater and ponding. I mean, at some point, we gotta have a survey, for how we're going to deal with all that and where those things need to go. Is that part of this grant, or where will the money come to actually do the design and site work to actually apply to execute this plan?
Our discussion so far is that would mostly be in-house. A lot of the grading work, now the asphalt and concrete itself would not be, but the grading work would be done in-house, and that's based on where we're at so far with conversations.
Okay, so that would be all in-house design work by our engineering and planning staff?
Correct.
They count that toward your 50% match, don't they?
Well, so, right, so there's I believe a $30,000 line item in here for labor for in-kind match, and then we'd be working with the utilities department to get the trail lighting done, which would be part of that paid through the grant, part of that paid through our funds. So that's, actually through the grant is required a 20% match. We're far exceeding that with what we're proposing to add to the project, so.
And we have machinery and stuff that'll help do the clearing and some of that sort of in-kind match there as well.
And I would note that we added that line item for potential plant material for stormwater management. That one in particular would be one we certainly hope to get some help with sponsors for, but again, if we get to that point with the project, we would certainly explore that.
How long, are these grants highly competitive? I mean, this stuff used to come through MDOT, didn't it?
So this, I don't believe, not the same one. This is a Land and Water Conservation Fund, so they have two that are open right now. This is just the first one that's due, the Recreation and Trails Program. But to answer your question, it is highly competitive. We applied last year and we're not selected, so we're beefing up the application quite a bit for this year.
Some of those TEA, Transportation Enhancement Grants or something, nobody knew about it in MDOT, and the money was just sitting there, would go over from year to year, because people would apply for the money. But as you said, this is competitive, people going after this.
From what I understand, north of 40 applicants just for this one program.
Okay. Any more questions?
And I'd like to point out that of the budget that Gary has listed there, the new money is primarily the trail lights, and that would be funded over time, so it wouldn't be $86,000 or whatever the number is there in 1 year. So we think Gary has assured me that he thinks he can feather this into his budget that way.
And yeah, the lighting would be like the lighting of the fields that we've done in the past, so, okay. No other questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any issues with this? We'll see if we can put this on consent as it is right now. Okay, then we have police department for attending basic evidence management class. Are we good with that, Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to the 2020 first work session as chief. Thank you. All right. Any issues of consent on that one? All right, we now circle back to utilities we have installation of a sewer main on Russell Street. That is to service the new Cadence Bank. Is that correct, Mr. Kemp? Okay. Any issues with that one?
Other than, where is that line gonna be coming into, and where's that going?
Over by Russell Street, I thought I was looking for my map, but, it'll actually, the line is gonna bore primarily, a large part of it will be under the parking lot in front of the hotel, back to the east.
So does that line run to Russell Street, or does it run back down to the south, going across University, where that connects into?
Manhole is just to the side, and it'll be back to the south.
But this will be a bowl, this won't be cutting the street.
That's correct. Well, it's gonna be across the parking lot, across, property that's owned by another, cafeteria, I think so, that owns that property. But it's the easiest way to get to that block of land that's kind of isolated, to get sewer service to them, that's what it boils down to. And so, but most of this will be boring, be a little bit of work, and then there'll be 2 manholes in place, and, this is the shortest distance. And I'll send you a map.
Yes, sir, and I would say the only thing that, as we're engineering for consideration right there, to think about, where those manholes are gonna be located, and how, in relationship to wherever the building, or the relationship to the street and walkways, just so we make sure that those, fit the character of what that's gonna become, where it's gonna be essentially a more urban sort of component than it is now.
We'll do that. And I'll send you another map. I do have it actually scaled out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then we have the agreed order between Mississippi Commission of Environmental Quality and the city. This is our proactive approach on aeration for an issue that we had down to the south. Is that succinctly enough put?
That's right. We actually exceeded some of the solids and some,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
we exceeded some of the solids for a couple of months at our wastewater plant.
Oh.
And it was a reflection, and we had low oxygen, but it's a reflection of the aeration problem. And once we saw that, then we've got temporaries in place now, and I mentioned earlier the disc rotors that y'all approved, those are gonna be installed. After we got all this in place, the DEQ sent us a letter, we have to report every month.
Yeah, we self-reported on it.
And we, that's right, we sent it all in, but they worked with us, and this deals with, that's our agreement that we're gonna have it fixed, and I feel pretty comfortable with that, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then we have the normal source of supply that will be January 1 through June 30th. Consent on that one, and then advertising for bids for the timber, that new 10 acre block, I think it is, that we bought. We'll sell the timber and then, move that along. And then the other would be the developing the plans and the bid package for expansion of the utilities. And, any sense about that one? I don't think we'll probably put that one on consent, but maybe need some discussion on Tuesday night, so. Okay, anything else? And no reason to have an executive session that we're aware of,
No, ma'am.
and I don't know of anything else. So, any other discussion or anything from anybody? Welcome to 2020. We got a lot of stuff going on this year, it'll be a big year, so.
Maybe, let me ask.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kemp, change out those high mass lights on the interstate, on Highway 82. That's going to LED fixtures, right?
Correct.
And that's not only, gives more light, it's gonna save us some money, right? Just like we've done on 182.
So the appearance will look somewhat more even.
Yeah.
And then you'll have, more light on the ground, and it'll be cheaper.
Good.
The installation is kind of first cost a little bit, but you save a little life with the product, so.
Well, LEDs wherever we can. Okay, thank you. Well, we will consider ourselves adjourned and look forward to seeing everybody on